D-Day activities, and as part of that, you decided to jump out of a plane. Why?
It was to honor the veterans that go before us. The youngest person over there was 96. The oldest was 107. I think there was over 70 of them there. They're almost gone now. This is an exceptional time. Every 5 years, we celebrate a big D-Day celebration. We think we know sacrifice. We think we did something big in Afghanistan, Iraq. In 20 years in Afghanistan, I'm an Afghan veteran, and I served over there in 2016 as the head of emergency medicine in Kandahar. We lost about 2,462 lives in 20 years. They lost more than that in one day on D-Day. They lost 12,000 just from the Airborne Division during their campaign. Those guys grew up during the Great Depression. They are the greatest generation that we've ever known, and I wanted to honor that.
What was the experience like out of the jump?
It's pretty crazy. When you haven't jumped in a while, it gets frightening again. We like to pretend we're brave, but it's just kind of a herd mentality, jumping out of the back of an aircraft. We had 8 congressmen that I can remember that jumped out. I think 7 Republicans, 1 Democrat. It was exceptional. It was neat to bond over that, to honor the veterans, and to do something that's a little exciting every once in a while.
And we're showing viewers at home a little bit of the footage that was shot during your time overseas. When it comes to things overseas as well, we asked the previous guest we had about concerns he has when it comes to Israel's strategy in Gaza, particularly after the news of recent days over that hostage rescue. Where do you think things stand?
Well, there's still people who are hostages. Obviously, we have not solved this at all. I don't even think we're close. There's still bad guys who mean to do harm. There's still people who want to lob missiles into Israel. Quite frankly, if all the people in Gaza would just lay down their arms, there would be peace. But that's not the way it's working right now. If they would give up the hostages, there would be peace. But that's not the way it's going to work. Quite frankly, if Israel laid down all their arms, they would cease to exist because they would be wiped off the face of the earth. Just kind of giving perspective the way I see it anyways.
When it comes then to the Secretary of State, he's currently over there. He's talking about this plan, this proposal at least, when it comes to a ceasefire and hostage exchange. What do you think of that plan? What's your level of optimism in it?
Well, we've had a lot of ceasefires in the past, and not just from this conflict, from other conflicts. It doesn't seem to be anything permanent, but I would love to see it cease at least for a while. I'd like to see the healing begin. I'd like to see long-term peace process, but it really starts with getting rid of the terrorists and electing the right officials, making sure there's right leadership on both sides of the fence. But I think keep on coming back to what started this. There was no settlements in Gaza. There was no Israelis in Gaza that I know of. And quite frankly, this was unprovoked, and we hope that it doesn't happen again. But if we're going to get to a peace process, we need to stop talking about eliminating Israel from the face of the earth.
When it comes to the support that the United States gives Israel, Representative McCormick, do you think that Israel should be telling us a little bit more, sharing a little bit more about what their long-term strategy is?
Well, their long-term strategy has been quite clear. I think if you're talking about tactics, of course, they're not going to be open about that because there's no secrets over here. But if you're talking about the long-term strategy, is to wipe out Hamas, an organization that's trying to destroy Israel, to wipe out terrorism, of course. Now, do they want to have mass casualties of Palestinians? No, of course not, and neither do we. There's a lot of innocent people that have suffered. That's what war does. War is a horrible thing, and it always has been, always will be, and we should never forget that.
Well, is there a little bit more explanation, Alita, about doing that without the collateral damage?
Yeah, there is no such thing. I think it's anybody who's been in war understands that's a pipe dream. Name me one war, if you can. You're a reporter. Name me a war where you've seen no collateral damage. It doesn't exist. In one night in Tokyo, we had 100,000 civilians, innocent civilians, burned to death in fire bombings in World War II. We forget that. We forget war is a horrible thing. It doesn't matter if it's Afghanistan, Iraq, Korea, Germany. Name a war that we didn't have mass casualties from civilian innocents. That is war. That's why it's horrible. That's why we should avoid war. That's why we should eliminate bad guys as best as we can, but realize there's always going to be collateral damage.
When it comes to the Israeli Prime Minister's visit later on, or at least next month, what are you hoping to hear as far as what's going on and a resolve to the situation?
Well, I hope he's going to come with the attitude that he understands that people don't want to have innocent Palestinians harmed. I think he wants to mitigate that. I think they've had investigations over that. They've fired people over that. They're trying to do what they can, but once again, having a reality check of understanding what war really is and what started this particular conflict. Now, there's a lot of sidebar conversations on that and oppression and stuff like that. But listen, there are a lot of countries out there that are not recognized that are thriving. Taiwan is one of them, a country that's not recognized by China that's doing very well. If they would focus on their economy rather than on terrorism, they would be much more beneficial to their people. And unfortunately, the Hamas leadership in that country has done them no good service, only caused harm and discontent in their nation.
You serve on armed services. We asked the previous guest about this fall's elections. If the former president Donald Trump wins, how do you think defense strategy changes in the United States?
I think that'll yet to be determined. I think the president always likes to go out there and be strong. I think that it's served us well. It's kept a lot of peace, quite frankly. When people realize that you're coming from a position of strength and not kowtowing to governments that are really caustic to us, to our worldview. That is global leadership, not globalism, and I think President Trump's very good at that.
One thing domestic, as we asked the previous guest about this effort, contempt resolution towards Merrick Garland, to what degree do you think that's necessary?
Well, ask Steve Bannon. If you do something that's against what Congress has already said you had to do, and you ignore us, you can be found in contempt. I think that's very fitting, and I think it's hypocritical to think anything else.
What do you think it achieves then?
What do I think of what?
What do you think a contempt agreement would achieve in the long term?
Well, it keeps people accountable to the people of the United States. We are the representation of the United States of America. If you ignore us, if you're bought by subpoena and you say, I'm not going to do that, who are you ignoring? Are you ignoring us or the people?
Representative Rich McCormick serves on the 6th District of Georgia, a Republican from that state, serves on the Armed Services and Foreign Affairs.